cerebral malaria is kind of a one bout enemy, and it's a big one. So it comes in, it multiplies, it's winner takes all. And so there's not a lot of survivors of cerebral malaria because it is a winner take all kind of a thing. And if you don't know you have it, you don't get the antidote for it. So you go into a coma, and then it's up to people to kind of figure out what's killing you.
Hello, my name is Renae Leith-Manos. Welcome to this podcast, Where2From Here, featuring conversations about luxury travel and how it's changing in every pocket of the globe. Today on Where2From Here, I'm joined by someone I've known for many years, Stephenie Rodriguez. I first met Stephenie when she was the publisher of Ocean Drive magazine here in Sydney, where she built a reputation for connecting with some of the most fascinating people and stories in lifestyle, travel, and business. Then, as often happens in life, our paths diverged. Years later, through a mutual friend, we reconnected, and I discovered that Stephenie had lived through an experience so extraordinary, so life-altering, that it completely changed the course of her life. What began as a dream trip became a fight for survival. Following a mosquito bite, Stephenie became critically ill and ultimately lost both her legs. In an instant, the life she had known was turned upside down. Yet what followed is not a story of loss. It's a story of courage, resilience, and determination, and an unwavering refusal to let tragedy define her future. Today, Stephenie is not only an advocate, entrepreneur, and inspirational speaker, but also the founder of WanderSafe, a business dedicated to helping female travellers better understand risk and stay safer while exploring the world. In this deeply personal conversation, Stephenie shares the events that changed her life forever, the physical and emotional challenges she faced, how she rebuilt her confidence and identity, and why her passion for travel remains stronger than ever. This is a conversation about resilience, perspective, and finding a purpose in the most unexpected circumstances. Stephenie, welcome to Where2From Here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's exciting here in Sydney. But look, you've travelled extensively before everything in your life changed, before malaria, and before the world knew your story. Who was Stephenie Rodriguez then?
Stephenie Rodriguez then was kind of a trailblazer, a global citizen. I came to Australia in 97 with my ex-husband. So coming from the States, being born on the East Coast, moving to Los Angeles, having this whirlwind romance and moving all the way to Australia, which most Americans can't even find on a map, was a big step. So she was a person who was pretty, was one to buy into the big dreams and take big swings.
And was travel always in your blood? Because you've travelled to over 70 countries, and as long as I have known you, you've always travelled.
I think so. In so much as that my family come from Puerto Rico, and moving across country in the U.S., I got my passport when I was 18 years old, which most Americans don't do. I was invited to do a shoot at Galeries Lafayette for a hosiery company. So I started traveling very young, much to my mom's trepidation. She always thought I was going to get sold into white slavery, but fortunately, nothing that heinous happened. But yeah, it was just always, the world was a big, wonderful place to see.
Wow. And take us back to Nigeria in 2019. What happened?
Well, I went to Nigeria on a work trip, on a roadshow, as we call them in technology. And I was there for a conference called Hive. And I was also there to look at potential partners for an application that I developed called WanderSafe. So it was really a busy business week. And knowing what I did about safety, I had done the research on the DFAT website and on the OSAC website, which is the U.S. government's website for U.S. companies with assets, people overseas. And for everything that it said about Nigeria was all about physical safety. Don't go to an ATM, don't go for a walk, don't do this, don't do that. It said very little about biohazards. I think that was like page 4.
And most people don't even do the research that you did. before they
Well,
travel?
I'm in the safety business, so yeah, I'd have no excuses really if I didn't know.
Mm.
And I had been to Africa before, so I'd been to Kenya in 2015 and done the full suite of prophylactics because I was going to the Masai Mara and into the Makulu slums and into places where yellow fever and these other really heinous biohazards existed. But this Nigeria business trip was all about being in a conference room and speaking at events indoors and trying to avoid as much physical harm as possible.
Right, so you weren't camping or anything.
Oh hell no. I didn't even
Have you
see it.
ever been camping?
Well, that's really not one of my strong suits. Yes, I was a Girl Scout. But not in my adult life. I don't think I've been camping.
And at what point did you realize this wasn't that you were sick, that something was wrong?
I didn't. That's the funny thing. I had gone to Africa and then on to India for a week, flown back to Australia, spent one night in Australia, then flew the next day to Boston. So that is the definition of stupidity, is to fly 40,000 kilometers in a 2-week period
But people
because,
do it. People do
well,
it.
flight attendants do it, but they also take a month off after, and I had
Mm.
just been going full steam ahead. So I thought I had what I refer to as jet plane flu, like just breathing too much recycled oxygen and being cold and hot and jet lag. So I arrived in Boston and I had symptoms of the flu, according to my friend Liz I was traveling with. And I didn't realize how sick I was because I thought, much like we Australians do, soldier on, and I'd deal with it when I got back. But I was there on a mission and I had stuff to do and I was going to get done with the stuff, then come home and then deal with whatever was wrong or take a rest or whatever. So
So when was the moment that you realized something with your body was really wrong?
I didn't actually. I woke up 11 days after being in the airport and having a seizure and being
Oof.
unconscious and ambulanced out of
Which
the
airport?
airport, Boston Logan Airport in the Delta Lounge.
Were you with anyone?
My friend Liz from Canberra, she was with me because we'd been on a girls' weekend that we won in a pub. So,
And was she
yes.
just thinking, what on earth is wrong with my friend?
Yes, she thought I had been invaded by aliens, like because I was so out of character. Just my behavior. We'd gone to the chemist and got like cold drills and like over the counter
Mm.
cold medicines, thinking we'll just take these because my head was really stuffy. I was developing fever, so Panadol for fever, just the basics. But I didn't realize that I was carrying a parasite that I'd picked up in Nigeria that was ravaging my body and multiplying itself and killing my blood cells all at the same time. And I wouldn't know that until I woke up 11 days later in Massachusetts General Hospital, having been through death 3 different times.
Oh my goodness. So can you remember any of that time? Were you in and out of
Yeah.
consciousness?
Well, I mean, during the coma, they say that different people have different experiences in a coma and having a near death experience. And mine range from the obscure, like 2 nurses talking over me while they're working on me about attending an end of life ceremony, like a session, like are you going to the end of the life session, next weekend? So they were talking about going to a palliative care seminar, and I'm listening to this going, oh no, am I in palliative care, because I don't know where I am. So
Right.
I was very like, I woke up afraid because I'd heard these nurses talking about this over my body while they were working on me.
It's
Um,
unbelievable.
my brother and my aunt played music in my ear, which was very special during the coma. And I remember hearing the music and thinking, I'm singing in my head to this song. What is going on outside of this experience that I'm having that I can't see? So
Does
there.
that song still mean something to you? I mean, it must
Yeah,
do.
yeah. It's a very special song. It comes from Sister Act 2, with Whoopi Goldberg, like it's an 80s movie or 90s movie, but it's Lauryn Hill's version with another singer sitting at the piano. And this song is called His Eyes on the Sparrow. And it's a gospel song. And, the words are very special, but, it talks about, if God's looking at the sparrow, then I know he's watching me. And my family knew I loved that song because I love Lauryn Hill. So they were playing it because they were like, okay, if she can hear this, then we can reach her. So what we know about, people having near-death experiences and what they can hear, there's more and more research that lends itself to being careful what medical practitioners and family members are saying over people who are in comas, because you don't know what they're listening to and they're going to remember. And that was very special. My business partner, she was there and she was yelling, into my ear and speaking to me and told me I was very sick and that I had malaria, but I was going to live. And I was like, where is here and why is Fiona here when I last left her in Australia? So there's like these kind of like lost spatial moments of where am I? What's going on around me? Why is this happening? Like the things that you don't know until you wake up.
No, absolutely. And when did you wake up?
I woke up on around the 10th of October. So I fell into the coma on the 29th of September, but my wake up date is officially around the 10th of October.
And
So,
can you remember? I mean, how did you feel? What was
well,
the experience?
I remember opening my eyes and looking at this clock on the wall in front of me, and it was an industrial clock, like clocks that are in
Yeah.
schools and hospitals, the big like analog, and watching the hands just tick. And because I couldn't move, and so there was no button to press, and no one was expecting me to wake up. It wasn't that people were coming to check on me every
Right.
half an hour and
So you
go,
woke up alone?
yeah. And I was there for quite some time watching the hands of the clock, but my nose really itched. And Renae, it was crazy because my nose itched and I really wanted to itch my nose. And I went to itch my nose and I couldn't. And I was thinking, why am I restrained? Like what's going on? And then I couldn't move. And then I'm like, okay, maybe my brain is not connecting with my body. So I might be restrained for some reason. I don't know, because I don't
Mhm.
know where I am. Firstly, I know I'm in a hospital because I can hear things, but I don't know where I am.
Wow.
So then I can't figure out why I can't scratch my nose.
Were you scared? I mean, what's the overriding
Yeah.
emotion? I would have been
Yeah, yeah,
terrified, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah.
Like, what is
Scared.
going on?
Well, just the lack of information.
Yes.
And then I was intubated. So there was a tube going down my throat. So even if there was someone to ask a question to, I couldn't technically ask them anyway. So I'm unable to move. I can't ask a question. I can only hope that someone's going to come in and see my eyes moving, because that's all I could move, because I was completely atrophied in my body. I
Wow.
wasn't I wasn't strapped down. My body had atrophied from lack of movement, that I was paralyzed.
Blimey. And then what happened?
Well,
The story.
then somebody realizes I'm kind of awake, and so then it's like bringing the family and getting to see my son, who had been flown over, who was 13 at the
Flown from
time.
Australia?
Yeah, so my family had been flown in because they were all told to come and say goodbye to me. So they all gathered by my
Oh
bedside
my
having this
goodness.
vigil, which made waking up very weird, because
Yes.
the 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 faces and the energy that I was getting from them was that they were very happy to see me, but very terrified, because they knew what would befall the rest of my life that nobody told me. And so that, okay, who's going to tell her what life's going to be like from here on out?
Oh.
Nobody was volunteering for that job. So,
So what was the forecast once you woke up and started communicating with your doctors?
well, the cerebral malaria has such a low um, a low survival rate. And as sick as I was, malaria was 8% of my blood's volume. when it was
Oh,
caught.
wow.
So the what happens because of that is severe septic shock. Because your organs fail, you get a blood infection. So the sepsis was the 1-2 punch to the malaria because it just kept making more of itself. My blood was so toxic that my liver and kidneys and organs couldn't process it. So that just like sticking a broomstick in bicycle spokes was basically what was going on in my internal organs, and that caused the world to stand still. The hospital did not have the medicine for the antidote for cerebral malaria. They had to call the CDC in Atlanta. It's from Boston.
Is that because they don't have malaria in the US?
Oh, they have malaria, but you have to think about a Northern American hospital dealing with a tropical
Yeah, that's what
disease.
I'm coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, there's more now than there was then.
Right.
But the fact that I had a 2% chance of survival,
2% chance of survival.
and I was the second person that the CDC had reported of showing up and presenting with malaria in the United States at the time in 2019.
But can you remember being bitten by the mosquito?
I'm going to ask you that question. When's the last time you remember being bitten by a
Well,
mosquito?
I have to say I do remember because I get bitten all the time. It's a problem for me.
Mm.
So no, you can't remember. So there's not a particular moment where you think, oh, that was when I was outside in the garden.
Well, I wasn't in the garden. The only time I was outside was at a speaking event on the Sunday before I left Nigeria. And it was very specific because I spoke at a travel massive event. And afterwards, the organizers asked me to go outside and take photos with the delegates. And therein lies the rub. So, when you're taking photos with 80 plus people and you're in the center and they're moving people around, the photographer, well, you're just standing there doing what you're supposed to do. And such as it was to stay there and stand on the mark and wait for the photographer to do what he needed to do. Then they asked me to do interviews with the press. So I stood there and I did interviews with
So
the
you were out there
press
quite a while.
and next to a pool of water at sunset. So
Oh,
if I had to guess when I got bitten, I'd have to say most likely there.
wow.
Yeah.
So you're in America, you've woken up, you're only the second person that's presented ever in their history, their medical history,
Mhm.
with malaria that you had. Did you feel angry?
Um, I think there's going through the stages of questioning why me. With malaria, Americans are so litigious. Like, give them any reason to sue anybody and they will. But without having someone, there was no one to blame. Like, it wasn't the mosquitoes' fault. They were just doing them. I was doing me. Everybody was doing what they were supposed to do. This is just the laws of the jungle. So I could get mad at the situation, but there really wasn't someone to blame. You could shake your fist at God if you chose to, but even then you wouldn't get any answers.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
yeah.
You've been incredibly resilient. And then what happened? I mean, when did it become clear? You said your organs were battered internally.
I had complete organ failure. So I was on a dialysis line. I was on complete, just everything was being manually operated, my organs, till they could recover. So one was flushing the toxin out of my body, and two was then restoring my organs. So it was the journey of recovery. It isn't like getting in a car accident and losing a limb. It is living forever with a debilitating illness that goes from bad to worse because it shows up and surprises you. I'm malaria free. So there are 4 different types of malaria. The one that's most common is like shingles or chickenpox or one of those that it can live in your body and show up again, have a party and go away and be gone and not show up for another year or whatever. But cerebral malaria is kind of a one bout enemy, and it's a big one. So it comes in, it multiplies, it's winner takes all. And so there's not a lot of survivors of cerebral malaria because it is a winner take all kind of a thing. And if you don't know you have it, you don't get the antidote for it. So you go into a coma, and then it's up to people to kind of figure out what's killing you. And I was very fortunate that an Australian doctor who I'm very close to studied malaria at the British West Indies University, doing his biochemistry degree. And he knew about malaria. So my friend rang him and said, Steph's in ICU. I don't know what to do.
This is when you're back in Australia?
No, no, no.
You're
This
still in
is
America?
in America. And she put him on the phone with the attending in Boston. And he took all the stats and vitals and everything and said, test her for parasites. And when they did, that's when they found it.
Wow.
So had not have been for someone with the foresight and the experience to even know what malaria looked like at presentation in a
So
hospital.
this Australian doctor saved your life?
He did. His name is Dr. Zach Turner.
Dr. Zach Turner, what a hero.
Yeah. He's a very special human. He's been involved with my business for some time, but also a very dear friend. And he's quite a darling of the media on wellness, but
As he should be.
yeah.
But when did you realize you were going to lose your legs? Because when I reconnected with you, you were in a wheelchair and you had your legs, and I know you had to make the very difficult decision
Yeah.
to have them amputated in order to have prosthetics to be able to walk again.
Yeah. Well, we came back to Australia with an undiagnosed course of life going to look like. And no one in Boston wanted to tell me about the fact that I would likely lose my feet. They just all just kind of held their breath and went, well, we don't have data on what life looks
Yeah,
like
and
on
what's
the
going to
other side.
happen?
So
Yeah.
we're not going to bother to tell you something that isn't true. So not getting the not true.
Then you didn't get anything.
No, I got the, it's going to take you at least 4 years before you feel remotely normal. But in
4 years until you
yeah,
feel remotely normal. Was that true?
I think I felt like I love hard deadlines because it gives me something to try and work
Towards,
to
yeah.
beat. And I don't feel normal even today, 6 years later. But in knowing that it was going to take a long time, the course of medical intervention. The first doctor who saw me, like I came out of the airplane in an ambulance to Canberra Hospital, and like stuck in an emergency bay until 9 o'clock in the morning when this doctor, a vascular surgeon I've nicknamed Dr. Hacksaw because that's all he had in his toolbox was a hacksaw. He just came in and went double amputations, knees down, and that was his prognosis. And I had black toes and black heels, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. And every day he'd come in the morning at 7 a.m. on his ward rounds with his little medical minions. And this was like, medical theater. He was going to cut a woman's legs off at her knees and, get the big saw out and, do it for the med students. So it's like, nope, sorry. I don't have enough data that says that this is necessary. So no. And my business partner, Fiona, she's like, we're going to go to Sydney and get a second opinion. So she said self-discharge, which wasn't even a thing I knew you could do. So I'm like, so what do I just go and say, I'm leaving? She goes, yeah, basically. So I did that. And we came up to Sydney, got a second opinion at St. Vincent's. And then we were on a trajectory. But by that time, it was well and truly into December of 2019, and everyone was going on medical leave. Like all the doctors were going on vacation, so no one wanted to start a big medical case in December that would ruin their holidays. So they were like, just keep the feet clean, try not to like get an infection, and we'll see you end of January. And so I was stuck with necrotic feet that needed daily care through for the month, and then went into starting my medical recovery with toe amputations and heels first in February, and then going all through COVID in the hospital mostly alone.
And this isn't even half the story. So at some point you decided that you would amputate.
I didn't have a choice. My
Right.
heel caps wouldn't close, so my heel bones were sticking out of my heels. And I don't recommend that anyone ever see their own bones. It's like, it's just not normal. It's just not normal.
It's just not normal.
No, it's just not normal. So my heel bones were sticking out. I was at a high risk of infection. And my doctor said, Dr. Gordon Slater, he's like, I can't fix these. We've tried. We did everything but voodoo, and like we can't get him healed. So you're going to have to consider what your options are. And I had met Professor Almaderis at TEDx in 2015 at the Sydney Opera House. And he was this doctor doing this crazy robotic bionic surgery on amputees. And I met him at the cocktail party, and I was able-bodied. And I was like, oh, I'm a doctor's wife and I'm an expat and I love what you're doing. So we bonded just on being expats in
Wow. The
healthcare.
universe was looking after you.
But I would not know that introduction in 2015 would prove to be my surgeon in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
And
nuts.
when did you think about fencing? Because of course there was no one in Australia that's done fencing in the Paralympics since 1962 until you came along.
Yeah, well, parafencing found me. I had spent so much time in the hospital and giving up all the things I really love and
Mm.
enjoy from an exercise and just socialization point of view. And I'd spent so much time by myself in the hospital that the NDIS had sent out an email in the newsletter going, New South Wales is starting a parafencing program.
Wow.
You can email this coach. And so I did. And a couple of emails, and then they're like, oh, want to do a come and try. And I went thinking I would meet members of the amputee community who are athletes, like find my new tribe,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
no one I knew was
Yeah,
disabled or
right.
amputee or anything. So I thought I'll go and find my people.
Yeah.
So I get there, and Alex Andre, who I thought was going to be this really cute coach, turned out to be Alexandra, so not quite my expectation on a coach, but no, Alex is a great coach, and I have nothing but wonderful things to say about her. But I was a little bit selfish in my motivations for wanting to go fencing, to
Yeah.
socialize and, and hang out with people after being locked away for a long time.
It's fencing is really hard.
Fencing is 60% strategic, 20% technique, and 20% physiology. So the strategy part of it is all about the things that we don't use in human interaction. So we put masks on and we don't look at each other in the eye. So firstly, we remove eyes from the body language. Then it's about what is the motion of the body as far as what it's going to do on LA and reading your opponent's body. And then finally, the feint or the faking, which is to fake out your opponent and to draw them out into a misstep or an inaction in order to find the action.
Get
So,
in there.
yeah. So it's fast, it's deceptive, it's
Do you love
using.
it?
I do love it. It's challenging
Yeah.
because I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I've really had to come into finding my competitive streak to get in there and get to bring the fight to someone when that typically wasn't me. But I think that's been a beautiful part of learning to fence is the finding the inner fighter in me that had to show up in so many ways
Oh,
in the rest of this journey.
you are the most resilient woman that I know.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And that most people know. It's phenomenal what you've achieved. And how did what you've been through affect how you feel about yourself as a woman? Because I just love the fact that you still are so glamorous as you always were, and you're still beautiful as you always were. There are many people who would have been through what you've been through, and they wouldn't be focused on, what they look like anymore.
I only lost my feet. I didn't get a complete makeover. So I tell people that because it is quite funny, the bias around what people who are disabled should look like, should dress like, should do whatever. And I often am confronted, and it does make me feel socially awkward when somebody will come up to me in the supermarket and go, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful," and leave it right there. And I'm thinking in my head, for a person who's disabled, because that's what you're really saying, is not that I'm any more attractive than I was with feet, because
Mm.
that's the only thing that's changed. I haven't got, I didn't become Heidi Klum, like, For real, I just lost my feet, and to think about that being, and I mean, God love a person who's into feet and feet pics and that whole
Yeah,
thing that's
yeah.
now about feet. I have perfect feet. I won't get a splinter. I can walk on, cold snow and hot sand and not feel it. So it does have its upsides, but in losing my feet and the transformation of becoming a person who's disabled, physically, and being in a wheelchair for a period of time and all of that has certainly, there's the idea of wanting to break the bias on what we believe somebody with disabilities should look like.
And you've done that.
Well, that's just
Oh,
me showing up every day as me, though.
yeah, but I think most people going through this level of trauma would retreat. You've done the opposite. You've become a spokesperson. You've taken up an Olympic sport. You're a fighter. I mean, your Instagram account is so inspiring.
Oh,
How many
thanks.
operations have you had? Are we up to 70? Is it?
70.
Yeah,
Just, yeah, 70 last week.
that is out of control.
Yeah.
70 general anesthetics?
Yeah.
That's a lot, Steph.
I know.
How do you talk to yourself? What do you say to yourself to stay positive?
Well, I mean, one, I'm really just grateful that every day I get to wake up. So my first thought before I open my eyes is, does something hurt? And if something hurts, I'm like, yes, I get another day. So, like, the first read on my body is, does something hurt? And the fact that something is in pain makes me know that I'm still present in my body. So I'm like, yay, I get another day. But being my son's mother is probably my greatest joy. And he's now 20, in uni, got a girlfriend, got a job, like living his best life. Needs me a lot less now than he did when he was 13.
Yes.
But the fact that I've gotten to grow up and watch him, go through his life stages to adulting, or young adulting now, but really that was a huge driver of my reason to be resilient and to get up again, was to be a good example to him and a role model for what resilience looked like.
Yeah, we've certainly done that. And WanderSafe. This is an app for female travelers.
Well, it's an app for everyone. We really took and kind of expanded the narrative on WanderSafe from where we started in 2018. I mean, me going through such a huge physical experience with getting sick on the job, on a business trip, how did my work colleagues know about it? How did that present?
Mm.
Really allowed us to take some introspective looks into the product and what we make and why we make it and who we can help, to be able to create, the greatest safety tools and advisory for someone to have the best possible outcome anywhere they go.
So anyone who travels a lot should have this app.
Well, even if you just commute a lot, even if you
Yeah.
just walk across the car park at night, like, you need this because you just don't know what's lurking behind you. And a lot of crimes that happen, particularly against women, are crimes of opportunity. When we're busy looking at our phone and we're not paying attention to what's around us, we are too busy looking down versus looking around.
Yeah.
So having, the tools in the ecosystem we've built, from the beacon to the app to the dashboards that companies can use to be the first responders for their staff, is really looking holistically at the safety problem, not just at a symptom, but at the whole problem.
So what are the mistakes that women still make when they're traveling internationally?
One is they don't know what number to call, like
Mm.
911 or 000. So in a foreign country, not knowing that number can cost you, because if you just activate
Yes.
the SOS feature on your Australian mobile phone, where are you going with that signal? Like, where does
Back
that
to
call
Australia,
take you?
I would assume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where exchange is. So, and then also only being able to call one person in your emergency contacts might mean that that person might be asleep or
Yes.
busy or in a meeting, so they might not get your message. So knowing that there's a number of people that you can reach matters.
Yeah.
So speed in which somebody can be notified, accuracy for which you can be found, really matter in the outcome that WanderSafe can promise.
Yes. Well, I must say, I know that you're a lover of luxury hotels, as am I. And I always, recommend women to stay in the hotel that they can afford. And I do not recommend women on their own staying in Airbnbs for this reason, because
Yeah.
at least in a hotel, you've got a community.
Yeah.
If you faint, if you go through anything like you went through, there are people there who can help you. In an Airbnb, you may not be found for
Exactly.
days.
Exactly. And also, I mean, the number of security risks about staying in private residences where you're not on record, there doesn't have to be any accountability, are also some of the risks around staying in these kind of gray areas versus
Yes.
in that is black and white and traceable.
No, that's right. And how aware is the world about malaria now compared to when you went through your experience? Have things improved?
Well, this past year, I was working with the Global Fund as their change maker, and I got to work with David Beckham and, working with Lady Roz Matrua, the board chair, and addressing the G20 and the UN General Assembly, and doing some public service announcements with David Beckham. So getting to work with some larger figureheads about the malaria problem and learning that it was moving from something that was just a them problem to a we and an us problem by the number of cases going native from 2% in the US to, like uh, 25%. So having more and more cases reported,
Right.
it means that,
People are
people
more
are
aware.
standing up and paying attention.
Well, that's a positive. But with everything you've been through, is there anything that scares you now?
Um, no, not really. Death will come for me at some point. I'm in overtime. And I think when it comes, my challenge will it to be for it to be a better fencer than me. Yeah, like it's got to be a better fencer than me, because it's going to fight me to the death. Not
You're,
without a fight.
you're not ready to go just yet, are you?
I don't think so.
Still got lots of things in your son's life to go through.
Well, I think more so I'm not done with what my tasks are.
And how do you see those tasks in your future?
One is to see my app become, standard in device hardware in every phone that's distributed, so that like the weather and the stocks, WanderSafe can be instrumental in saving lives would be a highlight for me during this lifetime, and to see that I've made a significant impact on the movement around, um, you know, SGV and DV and those violent situations against people, and that I've helped to create a reduction in that would be meaningful to me.
100%. And we did have a discussion about traveling for disabled people on planes, in hotels. Do you feel that the world supports disabled people when they're traveling?
No, the world was not designed for people with disabilities, and some countries are catching up. Some are adding more, some are adding better, some are creating systems and protocols in airports on how they address somebody with special needs and work with them on their needs. And some just need educating. So I even find going through the airports with my prosthetics, I have to carry a second pair of legs with me through in my hand luggage. So every person I have to break out and explain that there's a pair of feet in that bag, and this is how you use them and what they're for is a learning curve for even just the TSA.
Wow. That's quite a lot of luggage to be carting around for you.
Yeah, it is. And they're
Goodness.
heavy.
Yes. Wow. So here are some rapid fire questions for you, Stephenie. What's the safest country for solo female travelers?
Safest country for solo female travelers would probably have to be Australia.
Most overrated travel trend?
um, Luggage with that you sit on.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Doesn't work, does it?
No. No.
One country every woman should experience alone.
Um, Indonesia.
I agree.
Yeah.
Where do you like going in
I
Indonesia?
just love, Bali and Bintan, and just there's just so many unique facets to Indonesia that you can get to and explore. And I just think it has such a zen state of mind to it that you can really find your groove amongst different parts of it, from Java to Indonesia to Bintan to Batam to Jakarta.
Yeah, I agree. I lived in Jakarta. I love it.
Really?
Yeah, I go back all
Wow.
the time. I
Wow.
love it. Like 2 or 3 times a year.
Wow.
Raja Ampat, I want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be hard, but yeah, amazing. A luxury you can't travel without.
My Cabo eye mask.
Tell me about
Oh,
that.
it's a memory foam eye mask that sits above the eye, and it like is soft, so it's not like rolling over on something, but it sits with the memory foam above your eyes. So if you have lashes or anything, it's not clumping
Brilliant.
your
I think I need one of those.
lashes to your face, but it's blackout.
Okay, excellent for the plane. Favorite luxury hotels?
Favorite luxury hotels? I would have to say probably the St. Regis
Or just as a brand?
yeah, it's a brand.
Wow.
Mm.
And one thing that women should stop apologizing for?
Um, Stop apologizing for having an opinion. Like, it is what it is, you know? Yeah.
I totally agree. Well, look, everyone that comes on the show, we ask them where to from here. So, I mean, you've come so far. How do you see your future? Where to from here for you, Stephenie?
Where to from here for me, I think, would be to, proceed with the mission of 1 billion lives impacted with safety, like we have with malaria, and to see the concept grow and to continue to bring on new partnerships, new tools that can help people with the problem, solutions for the problem of personal safety, and that be always remain at our wheelhouse, be kind of where I see it staying.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We
Thank you.
absolutely love you. Good luck with the fencing. What's the next fencing challenge that you have?
The next fencing is Pattaya at the end of August.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And then Asian zonals at the end of October.
Fantastic. Well, good luck. We will
Thank
all
you.
be behind you, and stay safe, and good luck with your legs. I know, hopefully, are the
Yes.
operations stopping, do you think?
For now they are. I mean, we
Fantastic.
just got to call it and say we've got stuff to do, guys, and it can either consume me or I can consume it. So one or the other. But I try to run point on my life and my satisfaction levels too.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for the inspiration.
Don't forget to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for regular travel updates. You can also hear our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.